Hello, and welcome back to this little series where I'm delving into some of the weird and wonderful Diner Dash spin-offs, and this one for sure is up there with the weirdest. In this video we'll be exploring a little game called Dairy Dash. Yes, you heard it right, Dairy Dash. A dash game based on a farm. Well, when I first saw this game, I can't exactly say it appealed to me, because I'm not really into farming games, and I've never really played them honestly. But I knew I just had to try it out because it looks so different from the other games in the series. First of all, we are introduced to the Smith family, and our protagonist of the game, Mr. Smith. What? You mean there's a male protagonist in a dash game? Mr. Smith arrives home after a tough day at his 9 to 5, and his selfish family, all doing their own thing, expect him to make dinner. So he does the wise thing and puts a fork in the microwave so he doesn't have to cook, and his family can't ignore him anymore. But of course they still gotta eat. So they go to Flo's diner. Oh yes, they had to include our favourite girl somehow. And for some reason they take all of their mail to the diner with them. Mrs. Smith reads a letter from Uncle Bill saying that he's going to lose the farm because his little farm can't compete and that he doesn't have the help he needs to grow organic produce. Why is she smiling like that? Mr. Smith takes the hint and suggests that his family all go and help out on the farm, but his selfish family disappear after he suggests this. Flo, the nosy cow, was eavesdropping on him, and says that a lot of local restaurants are looking for a good source of organic ingredients. Mr. Smith says it will be a piece of cake, but changes his mind when he sees the state of that farm. Well, contrary to the title of the game, there are actually no dairy cows, but a goat and some chickens. I guess goat milk is classed as dairy, right? Now we have a little tutorial where we feed and water the goat and the chickens. Then the animals make produce for us, so we go and collect the eggs and goat milk. Then it's nap time for the little guys. And conveniently, they won't wake up until the produce has been stored away. After we do the second round of feeding and milking, the day is already over. Farming is pretty easy, isn't it? Honestly though, I have to say this does not feel like a dash game at all. Maybe due to the lack of customers, or the farm setting, maybe the art style? Who knows, but I'm sure I'll enjoy it more as I get into it. Oh, look at that man. You can't tell me he wasn't made to be a farmer. Looky what we have here. Cows at last. The dairy in Dairy Dash is finally true. But they require special treatment, which is basically just food that has been through this contraption to make it square. That's a bit of a hassle, isn't it? But I can handle it. Wait a minute, why is he milking the chickens? I'm not a fan of this face that the cow pulls when it's thirsty. Oh wait, the goat does it too. And when it wants to be milked, it looks so distressed. Poor creature. We managed to reach the expert goal before we even put all of the stock away. Ooh, and tomorrow will be even better because Mrs. Smith is coming to help. I guess she started to feel guilty for leaving her husband to do all this work by himself. But what about the kids? Is she just leaving them to fend for themselves? Who cares? Oh, here she is, the missus. And by working together we can handle 2 tasks at once. Let's see how much faster we can get work done. Nah, I'm better off without her. I didn't even get an expert score then. I never knew that working on a farm could be so rewarding, and working together makes everyone happy. Oh yeah, keep telling yourselves that, love. Leaving your kids at home unattended while you're out here exploiting these poor animals. Oh, our Flo is going to be calling in to order some eggs today. Anything for you, Flo. It's always a treat when Flo calls. I agree with you there, mate. Oh, what's this? A bonus level where we pick fruit? It says we can't lose here, but I'm sure I'll find a way. Wow, what riveting gameplay. Was there any point to all of that? Now we have a vegetable garden, so we need to look after plants as well as animals. Oh look, now our Flo is in need of milk. I I hope she's okay with goat milk since there's only one cow. And I don't mean Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith is the best. She bought us a lemonade machine. The refreshing taste will give us a boost in this heat. Wow, we move so fast after drinking lemonade. I'd need to lie down after all that sugar. Also, I have to say I love the little jingle that plays after you drink it. Lemonade makes everything better. Don't even talk to me until I've had my lemonade. Now Flo has found us a truck to use to take our produce to the market. This also gives us extra points for our stock, but it's an unreliable rust bucket, so we'll have to fix it when it breaks down. And after just a few seconds, of course, the truck is already broken down, before we've even had a chance to use it. Well, it didn't make much of a difference at all, did it? Now it's time to make some extra cash at the country fair. So we must try and sell as much produce as possible by matching rows of 3 or more of a kind. Don't worry about losing, everyone wins at the country fair. Well, apart from the animals, of course. Well, that was easy. I could honestly play this minigame for hours because I just love puzzle games in general. But now it's time to go back to the farm, where we have a second tomato garden, and we are hoping to win a trophy at the annual tomato contest. A little genetic modification should make that happen, I think. Wow, these tomatoes are more demanding than the animals. Fantastic, we can now purchase another cow for the farm. She can't even get her words out properly, spoken like a true farmer. But we now have 2 cows and only 1 feeding machine. Didn't think that one through, did we? And now there's 1 very angry cow, which causes us to lose 25 points each time it throws a tantrum. But I have far too much on my plate to deal with this right now, and preparing the cow food is so much of a hassle. What makes this game even harder is the animals waking up at different times, which makes chaining more difficult, as well as the constant need to prepare lemonade to keep us going. Thank goodness, Mr. Smith, the genius that he is, has come up with a new contraption so that there will be enough food for 2 cows at once. This has made the process a lot quicker. And it seems that the animals are sort of waking up at the same time, so we managed to meet the expert goal for the first time in a while. Which is a nice way to wrap up our time on the first farm. Now Uncle Bill has asked us to move to a new farm. But I thought this farm was all he had and he was about to lose it. I think he's just using us so he doesn't have to work. Well, of course, along with a more spacious farm comes more work. So Mrs. Smith asks their daughter Emily to come and help. She immediately says no. I guess she's enjoying her freedom at home without her parents. We don't need her anyway. On a positive note, Flo pays us another visit and tells us her chef friends are raving about our produce. And she thinks there'll be a lot of people interested very soon. They both remark, we sure have our work cut out for us. Wow, this farm is so much nicer, and even comes with a dog named Lucky. Must be our lucky day. But now the cows require special care. Like they didn't already? This new farm sucks. There's not even any goats. And where is my tomato garden? Now we have these dirty cows that need to be scrubbed before they're milked. And what's the point of the dog anyway? All he does is run around and bark, probably disturbing the slumber of the other animals. I can't even milk it. So now instead of growing tomatoes, we'll be growing corn, which we need to apply fertilizer to. I'm assuming that we're using cow defecation for that. That's disgusting. How very exciting, we now have sheep on the farm. But with great sheep comes great wolves, of course. So our Lucky must scare off the wolves. Oh yeah, I'm sure this cute little pup would scare off a wolf. So I didn't realise that the wolves were hiding in that bush over there, and I was wondering why my animals were so unhappy. I just thought I had extremely impatient animals. Mr. Smith removes his hat, revealing the extent of his receding hairline. He has so much to say about our failure that it doesn't even fit in the speech bubble. Check out this Yapatron. Well, thankfully, on the second attempt, I actually noticed the bush full of sinister, glowing eyes. And our reliable hound saves the day. We reached the goal even though I didn't manage to chain very much for some reason. Our corn has attracted crows, so as well as scaring off wolves, Lucky must chase away the birds. This is too much for a little pooch to handle. Oh, it's all kicking off now. And Flo is also demanding wool for tablecloths. I'll do what I can, but I only have one sheep. Also, how does the sheep regrow its fur so quickly? Or its wool, I guess. Unfortunately, the crows don't stay away for long. Crows to corn is like flies to shite. Now time for some fruit picking, but now we have to catch the falling fruit in our basket. Well, you know what they say. Catch a falling fruit and put it in your basket, save it for a rainy day. Unless, of course, that fruit is rotten. I honestly don't see the point of these bonus rounds, but I suppose it's a nice break from all of that farming. At last the goats are back. And we also have a new contraption so we can make cheese out of goat's milk. But it takes so long to produce and it doesn't even add much value. I honestly wish we could bypass this stage. Once word of our cheese spreads, I'm sure special orders will flood in. Oh, you're optimistic, aren't you, mate? The only person who orders from us is Flo, and that's probably just because she feels bad for us. And because she's the one who encouraged you to do this whole farming thing. After our successful country fair, if you call not meeting the goal successful, we are back to our farm, which is looking very crowded. But thankfully our daughter Emily is here to help. She probably got tired of looking after her brother for all this time. As well as looking after animals, growing vegetables, and keeping out intruders, the buildings are now falling apart, so we have to repair them. We have 2 of each animal now, and it's a bit of a handful with all of their different demands. But I suppose it's useful having an extra pair of hands, even if they are small ones. Mr. Smith is very proud of his daughter. That poor girl shouldn't have to do this. Anyway, shouldn't she be at school? Now it's our final day on this farm. Flo is offering to buy all of our produce at twice of its normal value. Little does she know, I'd give it all to her for free. Well, they say that 3 cows is a crowd, but 3 cows and 3 sheep is hell. The constant mooing and baaing. Their endless demands and different schedules. It's a lot to handle, but I think I'm finally getting the hang of this. And it definitely helps that we are overcharging Flo for our stock. Guess what? We have received yet another letter from the abysmal Uncle Bill, who wants us to move to yet another farm. But if we turn this one around, he has a special surprise for us. I'm guessing that's another farm. Mr. Smith calls his son Ethan, who is staying with his grandparents now, I guess. He asks him to come and help at the farm. But of course, he'd rather play his stupid video games. I could never relate. This new farm looks quite nice, and its main feature is having 2 water wells. It takes me a while to get my bearings. Now the workshop is up here and the food is down there. But we only have 4 animals right now, so I can handle it. Now we have 2 pumpkin patches for the basic girlies. And Flo is demanding all of our pumpkins for her pumpkin pies. Productive planning proves to produce plump and perfect pumpkin patches. Look at that empty gaze. This child has well and truly been lobotomized. Also, she only has 3 fingers? Mr. Smith has abandoned his family. Sounds like another Mr. Smith I know. Selling extra pumpkins in town, which I think means meeting up with Flo for a cheeky date. So that means his poor wife and child have to do all this farming by themselves. And guess what? That cheeky cow calls us demanding wool and cheese. She's feeding people wool now? Oh, we don't even need Mr. Smith. We're better off without him. At last we have a cow, but our goat shed is falling apart. Good thing Mr. Smith is back to repair the shed. That's all he's good for. Oh, and repairing the truck, of course. I was hoping that the chocolate-coloured cows would make chocolate milk. Are you stupid or something? I think these lot have been out of civilization for far too long. They're all talking nonsense. After wasting some more time picking fruit and an uneventful day on the farm, since Flo was on her hollybobs, and so were the wolves, it is now the shortest day of the year, but we still have so much to get done. And Mr. Smith did such a shoddy job fixing the shed and the truck that they're all broken again. But thanks to our Flo bonus, we managed to meet the goal. Oh my goodness, the prodigal son has returned. But all he does is refill the lemonade and then goes back inside to play his video games. Bloody useless. Our time on this farm has now come to an end. I can't wait to see what Uncle Bill's big surprise is. Ethan is moaning about everything on the farm being so outdated, and is excited to get back to civilization after 2 whole days on the farm. These kids and their technology. Mr. Smith just casually drops some lore about Mrs. Smith. Her name is Jackie. I thought it would begin with an E, like the kids, like Ethan and whatever the girl's name is, I forgot. What's Mr. Smith's name? I'm hoping it's Stan. Anyway, Jackie gets off the phone with Uncle Bill, who tells us our surprise is in fact another farm for us to go and work on. Oh, I never would have guessed it. But this farm is much more advanced. Good news for Ethan, I guess. Everyone is overwhelmed with the technology, but Ethan just says, cool. So this is what a future farm looks like. Futuristic buildings, satellites, solar panels, and a wheelie bin. You think there would be some sort of feeding machine, cleaning robots, or even a scarecrow? But no, all of this technology is useless. It's all just for show. The animals are now asking for things in a different order than usual. They blame the moon for this, but I think it's something to do with the radio waves from the satellites messing with their brains. Or mad cow disease, perhaps. Well, these animals are really messing up my training. How am I supposed to know what they want next? I only just got used to dealing with them in the normal order. The only training bonus I'm getting today is from putting the stock away, but thankfully that was enough. Today Flo needs wool and milk, and she finally clarifies that she doesn't need the wool for food, but still I'm a bit sus about it. What does she need it for anyway? I'm glad these animals are back to normal. Look at these huge chains. We are once again back at the orchard, collecting fruit for no apparent reason. But somehow the fruit I am right below misses the basket, but the rotten fruit, which I am not even close to, gets in. Just have fun, they said. This is not fun. I am fuming. The kids are off having fun at the rodeo, while Mr. and Mrs. Smith have to take care of the farm on their own. Why can't they all go? A man should never have to make his own lemonade. The goals are getting ridiculously high now, with us needing a minimum of 47,500 points to pass. This level, let me tell you, this level was just ridiculous. I'm barely able to even get 30,000 points here, never mind 47,500. Up until this point, yes, there were a couple of levels where I struggled, but I usually passed them after 2 or 3 tries. But this level had me questioning my life choices. I tried everything. Delaying feeding for some animals so I could feed the others at the same time, dealing with each animal individually, and then collecting their stock at the same time, but nothing was working. I even made sure there was plenty of lemonade consumed, but still with no luck. Well, I must have recorded around 70 attempts, but I got to a point where I stopped recording and just kept trying. I can't even imagine how long I was playing this level for, and I can't even tell you how I eventually passed the level, But I did it, and here's the proof. I am honestly surprised I didn't rage quit. I honestly lost the will to live while playing that level. It must have been around 6 hours. After level 48, I was dreading what was to come next. But thankfully, the next level was that silly little puzzle game. It was just the break I needed, honestly. And after that, level 50, I passed on my first attempt. Why was level 48 so much harder? But then level 51 happened. I don't know why this was so difficult. I was chaining like crazy, and all the animals were happy. But that goal is just ridiculous. After many attempts, I eventually completed the level, and the only thing that I think I did differently was leaving the cheese there until the end, which gave me more time to deal with the animals, and allowed me to collect one more round of eggs, goat milk, and vegetables. I wish I'd tried that sooner. At last, I had made it to the final level. But after struggling so much with so many of the previous levels, I was not feeling optimistic. The goal was now 73,000. That seems impossible. And we have 3 of each animal, which means we can do a lot of the training at least. But these animals are so impatient, and by the time I put all of the stock away, they are throwing a tantrum. Now for some reason, the animals are waking up at different times, which is completely ruining my chains. I guess the first few attempts were just learning the order in which to deal with them. From resetting the level so many times, I even found this glitch where if you reset the level when the cockerel does its call, it sort of just stays there at the bottom of the screen. This was kind of annoying because it covered up where the milk was and I forgot to collect it a couple of times. But at last, after playing this level over and over for 2 hours, I had done it. I had become a farming master. I certainly hope Uncle Bill is happy because I am now a broken man. We are shown a final comic strip with Mr. Smith calling his bit on the side, Flo, who tells us the local chefs, which is just her I imagine, are raving about his produce. And she just hopes there is more to come. But Smithy says he's planning to retire from the farm life and move back to the city. But then, guess who shows up? No other than Uncle Bill, in person this time. You've got a nerve showing your face around here, after what you've put me and my beloved family through. The selfish bastard tells us that he's planning on retiring and handing on the farm to the Smiths. Yes, this charming man himself. They all say yes. Looks like we've got our work cut out for us. I've heard that line said so many times in this game. Well, personally, I am sick of the smell of cow manure and running around after these animals and taking advantage of them for our profit. I'm out of here, loves. Well, I have to say, as much as I am not a fan of farming games, or farming in general, honestly, this game was actually alright. As I mentioned earlier, it does not really feel like a dash game at all, and the only thing that really tied it to the series was the presence of Flo, and the comic strips. Oh, and the gameplay, of course. Yeah, okay, it was like a dash game, but just very different to the ones I've played so far. Now, let's talk about the Smith family. I have to admit, I am not the biggest fan of these characters. The way that the family take Mr. Smith for granted after all the hard work he does. The way that parents leave the kids at home while they go and work on the farm, and the general lack of care for the children. Apart from wanting them to help out the farm, this is actually some terrible parenting. But I suppose they all do work together on the farm at the end, even if some do less than others. Yes, I'm talking about you, Ethan. I just don't feel that Mr. Smith or the Smith family in general developed that much in the end, and I still don't really feel anything towards them. Also, a male protagonist? What were they thinking? It took me a while to get into this game, but the gameplay was very challenging at times, which forced you to plan ahead and get as many chains as possible. Some of the levels were near impossible though, namely level 48 and 52. Honestly, the demanding animals had me longing for the old bloke from Diner Dash. For that reason, I do not think I would go back and play it again. But to those Diner Dash fans, or even fans of farming games out there, I'd definitely recommend that you check out Dairy Dash for yourselves. And yes, I will award the prestigious Octoroyal Seal of Approval on this occasion. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for subscribing. I've now reached over 1,000 subscribers, which is something I never really expected to achieve on this channel. But I'm so glad so many people are enjoying these videos, and my silly commentary, because I really enjoy making them. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.